What if, after 30 years of marriage, you suddenly discover that everything you believed in was a lie? Imagine, behind the facade of family comfort lurks betrayal, and the person you trusted most turns out to be your greatest enemy. But what if, instead of accepting your fate, you decide to act and plot a revenge no one could ever suspect? In this story, Michael isn't just a victim of infidelity. He becomes a player, making his move from the shadows, patient and cold-blooded. How far will he go for justice? And how will his game end? Stay with us to find out how revenge can become the beginning of a new life, or its end. A calculated revenge of a wronged man. Dating and marriage are two completely different universes. Dating is 90% pleasure and 10% trying to balance work and personal life. Marriage is the complete opposite. If you think that paying utility bills and taking your sick wife to the doctor will be as exciting as romantic dates, you're in for disappointment most of the time. Emotionally, dating is for kids and marriage is for adults. If you expect every day or even every week of marriage to be a whirlwind of passion, constant sparks and fireworks of emotion, you're headed for disaster. Michael met his future wife, Anna, when he worked as a swim instructor at a local college. At 20, he looked good in swim trunks, which isn't hard at that age. Surrounded by beautiful girls in swimsuits, he spent most of his time in a state of mild excitement. The pool was Michael's second home. The smell of chlorine, the humid air, the reflections of light on the water, all of it became the familiar backdrop of his life. Sometimes, arriving early in the morning, he enjoyed the silence, broken only by the echo of his footsteps on the tiled floor. Those moments gave him a sense of peace before a day full of hustle and noise. Anna started coming to classes in early fall. Michael noticed her right away, not just because of her figure, though she really did have the best in the college. There was something special about her. Confidence in her movements, a gentle smile she greeted everyone with, and a look in her eyes that spoke of determination. Her long dark hair was always pulled back in a neat ponytail, and her hazel eyes, flecked with gold, seemed both attentive and a little mischievous. He watched her during practice, trying not to be too obvious. Anna swam fast and efficiently, wasting no movement. Sometimes when she surfaced at the edge of the pool, their eyes would meet, and Michael would feel something tighten inside. In those moments he remembered his first dates. Awkward, full of expectations and disappointments. With Anna it was different. She seemed mature despite her youth, and around her he felt more serious too. One day after practice, Michael stayed behind to check the equipment. Anna approached, drying her hair with a towel. "Michael, are you always this serious?" she asked, smiling. He was embarrassed, unsure what to say. Usually, Michael found it easy to talk to girls, but with Anna he felt tongue-tied. "Probably just tired," he mumbled. "It's been a long day." "Then you need a break," she said, winking before heading to the locker room. After that conversation, Michael couldn't sleep for a long time. Her words, her smile, her look kept running through his mind. He told his friend Steve, who also worked at the pool, about her. "You're in love," Steve laughed. "Haven't seen you like this in ages." "Maybe," Michael admitted. "But I don't want to rush things." A week later he finally asked Anna out. They went to a small cafe near the college. Anna ordered tea with lemon, Michael had coffee. They talked about life, their plans, their childhoods. Michael learned that Anna dreamed of becoming a doctor, loved reading mysteries, and was afraid of heights. She laughed at his jokes, and he found himself wishing the evening would never end. That night, Michael realized, dating really is a pleasure. But deep down he already knew he wanted more. He wanted to truly know Anna, to see her not just in a swimsuit at the pool, but in everyday life, tired after class, happy about little things, sad for no reason. Anna was single. So was Michael. After a few dates, their relationship quickly grew. They no longer limited themselves to meeting at the pool or short walks after class. They studied for exams together, argued about books and movies, strolled through the city at night, holding hands. Michael felt that being with Anna made him calmer, more confident, more mature. One day, Anna invited Michael to a family dinner. He was nervous. Her father was known for being strict. At the table, Michael tried to appear confident but kept catching her father's intense gaze. Anna seemed unfazed, joking easily and keeping the conversation going. After dinner, they walked in the park, and Michael admitted he was afraid her parents wouldn't like him. Anna laughed and said everything went great. But soon shadows appeared in their relationship. At college, Anna had a classmate, tall, athletic Greg. He often helped her with her studies, and Michael increasingly noticed them laughing together in the hallway or talking, standing a little too close. Michael tried not to make a big deal of it, but an uneasy feeling grew inside. One day, Michael came to pick Anna up after class and saw Greg holding her hand, explaining something. Anna was smiling, and Michael felt a pang of jealousy. That evening he couldn't hold back and asked if she often talked to Greg. Anna was surprised, explained that Greg just helped her with biochemistry, but Michael couldn't hide his jealousy. Tension grew between them, and for several days they barely spoke. Steve noticed Michael's mood and advised him not to ruin things with jealousy. Michael knew his friend was right, but it was hard to control himself. He missed Anna, but pride kept him from calling first. A few days later, Michael made up his mind. He bought Anna her favorite pastries, went up to the dorm roof where they once watched the sunrise, and called her. Anna came. Michael admitted he was jealous of Greg and afraid of losing her. Anna said seriously that if she wanted to be with someone else, she wouldn't be with him, and added that without trust, they had no future. That conversation was a turning point. Michael promised to work on himself, and Anna promised to always be honest. From then on, their relationship grew stronger. Michael learned to trust, and Anna supported him through tough times. Together, they celebrated successes, weathered failures, and made plans for the future. That night, looking at Anna in the streetlights, Michael realized he wanted to be with her forever. For the first time, he thought about proposing. 2 years later, they got married. 30 years have passed, but Michael still looks at his wife with admiration, just as he does at everything else about her. His compliments used to make Anna smile, but now she ignores them. Their intimacy has slowed. Anna has rarely been in the mood for the past few years, and since September, she's lost interest altogether. Michael didn't need to hire a private investigator to know his wife was cheating. He just knew from the way she looked at him, or rather through him, from how she avoided eye contact, from her short answers. It all started after a family gathering at Anna's sister Mary's house. That night, Anna seemed captivated by Mary's brother-in-law, Tony, a college student. After that evening, Anna changed. She started talking about her sister more, suggesting visits, even though she'd never been enthusiastic before. Michael noticed she paid more attention to her appearance, bought new clothes, changed her hairstyle. Sometimes he caught her thoughtful gaze in the mirror and realized she was searching for something new in herself. Michael's attempts to talk to his wife led nowhere. Anna dodged his questions, citing tiredness, work, or needing time alone. Michael felt like a stranger in his own home. as if a chasm had opened between them. At night he lay awake remembering their best years, first dates, trips, laughter, late-night talks. He tried to figure out where they'd gone wrong, but found no answer. Only emptiness and the sense that everything had changed forever. Before Michael, Anna had dated a charming, confident young man named William, who knew how to woo, compliment, and surprise. But behind the charm, William was unfaithful, cheating on Anna with a waitress from their favorite cafe, and eventually left her for that girl. Anna took a long time to recover from the betrayal, lost trust in people, and was afraid to start new relationships. Anna still kept a shoebox in her closet, full of old photos, movie tickets, cards, and little souvenirs from her time with William. Michael knew about the box and understood that Anna's past still haunted her. Sometimes he felt she'd married him on the rebound, that he was her lifeline, a way to forget and start over. This feeling gnawed at him, especially during misunderstandings or arguments. Michael wasn't a heartthrob, but he never felt insecure around Anna. Sometimes he thought about his own high school crush, Katie, and wondered how her life had turned out. He understood. Everyone has memories and little secrets we keep in our hearts. The important thing is not to let those memories control your life or lead you to destructive choices. Michael suspected Anna's affair with Tony was her way of rewriting history, pretending she was finally living happily ever after with William, only now in a different reality, with a different man, but with the same sense of youth and passion. Being surrounded by young people who never seemed to age, while she herself was getting older, had a cumulative effect on Anna's psyche. Every time she returned from Mary's parties or from meeting Tony and his friends, she brought home a mix of envy, longing, and a childlike hope. It was as if she was trying to convince herself she could still be part of that world, where everything was just beginning and the future was wide open. Deep down, Anna felt like the only person in the universe who was aging. She would study every new wrinkle in the mirror, anxiously search for gray hairs at her temples, and sometimes cry on Michael's shoulder, confessing her fear of becoming invisible, of turning into just another middle-aged woman. Michael tried to comfort her, telling her she would always be beautiful to him, but he sensed his words never truly reached her. This was her private battle, and he could only watch from the sidelines. Anna fought her fear of aging in her own way. She dyed her hair religiously, spent a significant portion of her salary on cosmetics and clothes more suited to college students than a woman her age. New dresses, short skirts, and bright tops appeared in her wardrobe, outfits she wore only when meeting her younger friends. Michael didn't judge her. Understanding this was her way of coping with the anxiety of time, but it hurt to see her trying to be someone else, forgetting her true self. Michael worked as a contracts attorney at a bank. His job was routine. Take documents from the left side of the desk, read them, sign them if everything was in order, and move them to the right. It wasn't exciting, but it had provided their family with a home and food for 25 years, allowed their 3 children to graduate from college, and paid for Anna's years of therapy. Sometimes Michael felt like he was living on autopilot, each day blending into the next, but he took pride in having given his family stability and security. He wasn't a hero, never performed any great feats, but he knew he could be relied on. Maybe that was why Anna had chosen him, not for passion but for peace and dependability. As the years went by, Michael often wondered if things would have turned out differently if he'd been more adventurous, if he'd surprised Anna more often. But then he'd remember that life isn't just about flashes of emotion. It's also about years spent side by side, about support, patience, and forgiveness. At 50, Michael looked his age. He had less hair, and what remained had turned gray. He worked out at the company gym 2 or 3 times a week, rode his bike at least 20 miles on weekends, and sometimes competed in age group cycling races. He was in good shape for his age, though he no longer had the stamina of his youth. Anna loved working with young people, maybe a little too much. Michael sometimes wondered if she'd ever had anything with her students, but he never had any proof. 1 or 2 late meetings a year didn't seem suspicious. But when Tony appeared, everything changed. Suddenly, Anna had late meetings and conferences. Michael wasn't naive, even though his wife had started treating him as if he were. He hated the thought of throwing away all their years together, and the very idea of telling their children what was happening. More than anything, he feared that admitting his wife's infidelity would make him a failure. For years, Michael had turned down promotions that would have required travel, because he didn't want to be away from his family. He always put family above career. Now he felt like a fool with no clear path forward. If, at his age, his wife no longer wanted him, would any other woman? He hoped Anna's passion for her young lover would burn out, but it didn't. The time for reconciliation had passed. Michael knew he had to put an end to the farce. He was determined to end the marriage with a bang, not a whimper. Anna was a creature of habit. Every morning, she drank 2 cups of strong black coffee on an empty stomach, always watching her weight. Lately, she'd been going out on errands every Monday and Thursday for more than 2 hours, but never came back with any shopping. Her cell phone was locked tighter than Fort Knox, something new, since she'd never used a password before. In the past month, she hadn't shown any interest in intimacy with Michael. Maybe he should have talked to her, but he knew she would just lie. That would hurt more than any affair. Before unleashing hell, Michael tried one last time to see if the marriage could be saved. He suggested a week-long trip to Florida to rekindle their relationship, but Anna said she wasn't in the mood for a vacation. That's when Michael realized their marriage was truly over. She couldn't stand to be away from her lover for long. In that moment, all his love for her vanished. 30 years of devotion evaporated. He had never cheated on her, but now there was no reason to remain faithful. Michael's suspicions were confirmed at Anna's sister's birthday dinner. Tony, the tall, handsome 20-year-old, was there too. Michael saw the sparks in his wife's eyes every time she looked at Tony. Anna spent the whole evening talking to him, sitting beside him, ignoring everyone else. She often placed her hand on his muscular forearm when he spoke, acting as if his comment about the weather was more brilliant than the theory of relativity. Mary, Anna's sister, was embarrassed for her, trying to steer the conversation toward Tony's girlfriend, but Anna wanted no part of it. Her entire being was focused on Tony. When it was time to leave, Anna kissed her sister and brother-in-law on the cheek, but her goodbye kiss to Tony was on the lips. Anna pulled away, worried someone might notice, but everyone pretended not to see. Curiosity got the better of Michael. One day he left work early, borrowed a colleague's car, and returned to their neighborhood. When Anna pulled out of the garage, he followed her. His new mantra was, "Know your enemy." He tailed her to a coffee shop next to a mediocre motel, where she met Tony. Michael hated the guy. Tony clearly wasn't wealthy, and the coffee at that place cost a fortune. Of course, Anna wasn't paying, so Michael was. While some people use drugs for a thrill, Anna used coffee. Coffee had been her only vice before her affair pushed it to second place. It didn't matter if the sun was shining or it was raining. All Michael could see was the love of his life betraying him. He thought about the usual steps. draining the bank accounts, canceling her credit cards. But that didn't fit the plan brewing in his mind. Michael needed to appear clueless about his wife's affair. Anna was a hypochondriac. At least twice a year, she was convinced she was having a heart attack, and Michael would dutifully drive her to the hospital. When she complained of stomach pain, forgetting her appendix had been removed years ago, he never told her she wasn't a genius. Her love of coffee, her affairs, and her hypochondria, Michael decided would be her downfall. He didn't want Anna to simply get caught. He wanted public humiliation. Michael secretly bought caffeine powder at a health food store across town, as well as high-caffeine Brazilian coffee. He bought reusable capsules for their coffee machine and a grinder. Anna was thrilled with the purchase, not realizing it would become the tool of her undoing. On the Thursday after Mary's birthday, Michael put his plan, Operation Simulated Heart Attack, into action. He'd learned that consuming more than 400 milligrams of caffeine could cause symptoms mimicking a heart attack or arrhythmia. Michael filled 5 coffee capsules, each with 100 milligrams of very strong Brazilian coffee, and added another 15 milligrams of pure caffeine powder to each. Anna drank her usual 2 cups on an empty stomach before rushing off to meet her lover. She commented on how good the Brazilian coffee was. She had so much caffeine in her system, she could have powered her car on a single breath. Michael went straight to work. Knowing Anna would meet Tony at the coffee shop next to the motel, and finish herself off with a killer cappuccino loaded with even more caffeine. An hour later, Tony anonymously called 911 from the motel room. Anna thought she was having a heart attack during their encounter, and begged him to call for help. She also insisted he call a priest for last rites. To his credit, Tony waited for the paramedics before fleeing. The doctors found Anna in the room, writhing in pain from chest tightness and a racing heartbeat, unable to catch her breath. Her pulse was off the charts. At the hospital, Michael watched as his wife was hooked up to a heart monitor, while the priest prayed over her tearful confession of not-so-innocent sins. The doctors concluded it wasn't a heart attack, just too much activity with a young partner, and way too much coffee. Michael asked who had brought her in and went down to talk to the ambulance driver. Reluctantly, the driver told him he'd found Anna in the motel room in a compromising state. Michael didn't return to the hospital room. Instead, he went straight to the bank and transferred half their savings to his own account. Then he called his lawyer friend for a referral to a divorce specialist. Back home, he cleaned up all traces of his coffee sabotage. Soon after, Michael filed for divorce and saw his wife only once more. In the courtroom, it was a brief, almost formal encounter, with both of them avoiding eye contact. Anna remained cold and distant, as if none of it concerned her. She never apologized, not for the affair, not for the years they'd spent together, not for the pain she caused by leaving. Michael hadn't expected an apology, but deep down, he'd hoped for at least a word of regret. Instead, they simply signed the papers, exchanged a few perfunctory words, and went their separate ways like strangers. No alimony was awarded. They split their assets evenly and moved on, each down a new path. Michael kept the old car and a portion of their savings. Anna got the house and the vacation cabin she loved. Everything went smoothly without drama or extra emotion, as if both were too tired to fight and just wanted to put an end to it. After court, Michael sat in his car for a long time, staring at the building through the windshield, trying to process that his life would now begin anew, without Anna, without the familiar rituals and family dinners. As soon as the divorce was finalized, Michael completed his revenge. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, but a carefully crafted plan he'd been nurturing for months. He wanted Anna to feel the same disappointment he had, to see her idealized past collide with reality. As the final touch, Michael spent a few $1,000s to track down her ex-boyfriend William, the love of her life. He hired a private investigator, who found William in Florida within a couple of weeks. It turned out William was now a bald, 200-pound short-order cook at a rundown diner on the outskirts of town. Back when Anna fell for him, he looked like a movie star, tall, fit, with a full head of hair and a charming smile. Now he resembled a bowling ball. His belly hung over his belt, his face was puffy, and all traces of his former allure were gone. Michael received photos of William in a greasy apron, flipping burgers and arguing with a waitress, and couldn't help but smile. Michael paid William several $1,000s, plus travel expenses, to come to their city and declare his undying love for Anna. William didn't hesitate. He needed the money, and perhaps the memories of his old life warmed him too. Michael arranged for them to meet at the same cafe where Anna and William had once had their first dates. He expected Anna to recoil from the man who had lost most of his hair and gained the pounds she herself had shed after the divorce. He thought she'd see how cruel time could be to dreams and realize the past could never be reclaimed. But things turned out differently. Anna was happy, and as far as Michael could tell, things worked out for her. He saw them together a few times, Anna laughing, holding William's hand, as if she didn't notice how much he'd changed. Maybe she really had found what she was looking for. Or maybe she'd simply learned to accept people as they are. Michael didn't interfere or try to shatter their illusion. Everyone deserves their own chance at happiness, even if it looks nothing like the dreams of youth. The diner where William now worked was near the college, and Anna often stopped by, helping students with their studies, giving advice, sometimes just treating them to free coffee. William didn't mind. He had a waitress girlfriend on the side, and it seemed both of them were content with this arrangement. Michael sometimes thought that maybe this was what maturity really meant. Learning to let go of the past, not clinging to illusions, and accepting people with all their flaws. Michael's life gradually found a new rhythm. He started spending more time at the gym, trying to distract himself from thoughts of the past. That's where he met Elaine. Their meeting was accidental. Both showed up for an early morning workout when the gym was nearly empty. Michael noticed how confidently and smoothly she moved on the treadmill, and couldn't help but admire her determination. Later, when they met at the water cooler, a conversation started. It turned out Elaine's husband had also cheated on her, and she'd recently gone through a painful divorce. Both were training for a cycling tour through the countryside and decided to train together on Sundays, to support each other and keep from giving up. Elaine was 12 years younger than Michael, but that didn't stop them from connecting. She complimented him on being in great shape, and even joked that he could compete with the younger guys. They had a lot in common. Both had survived betrayal. Both knew what loneliness felt like. And both were passionate about fitness, believing that movement was the best way to heal. Gradually, their training sessions turned into something more. They started spending more time together. Cycling, going to movies, cooking dinner for each other. Michael found himself able to laugh again, to make plans, to dream about the future. Elaine was attentive, sincere, a good listener, and supportive. She didn't expect the impossible from him, didn't compare him to her past, and simply accepted him as he was. Now Michael lives with Elaine. Their morning runs, shared breakfasts, and late-night conversations have become a new beginning for him. He doesn't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long while he feels truly happy. Michael realized that the past never really disappears. It becomes part of us, shaping our habits, fears, and expectations. He only understood this when he finally let go of everything that had held him back. Resentment, jealousy, illusions. He stopped looking for someone to blame or trying to reclaim what was lost. Instead, he learned to look forward, to appreciate simple joys, and to be grateful for new opportunities. Anna remained in her new life, where past and present were strangely, perhaps harmoniously intertwined. Michael held no grudge against her. He knew everyone chooses their own path, and no one is required to be happy according to someone else's script. With Elaine, Michael didn't make grand plans. They simply lived together, here and now, enjoying each day. Sometimes he wondered how things might have turned out differently, but those thoughts no longer brought pain. He had learned to let go. Time doesn't heal, but it teaches acceptance. And maybe that's what true maturity is, learning to forgive, to let go, and to start over without losing yourself. Life is a strange thing. Sometimes revenge is just another name for justice. Dear viewers, thank you for watching this video. If you recognized yourself or someone you know in these characters, share your thoughts about such life twists in the comments below. Support the video with a like and subscribe if this topic resonates with you. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and remember, everyone deserves a second chance at happiness.